Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Friday, June 9th. Really appreciate y'all being here. If you want to support the channel, enjoy the content, you want to gear up for 2023, you can check out GenJag.com/shop. Pick up a hat like the one I'm wearing. We also have a couple extras of these bad boys that just came out. You can check it out, GenJag.com/shop. Get some cool gear, help support the channel. Really appreciate y'all for being here again. But right now, we are diving into a potential pass rusher that could be available via trade that I think could really help the Jaguars out a lot, and that's Danielle Hunter. Look, the free agent pass rusher market's starting to dry up a bit. You saw Frank Clark sign with the Broncos. Leonard Floyd's up in Buffalo. There are still options out there, I think. Justin Houston would be a fantastic option as a pass rush specialist. I think Melvin Ingram fits that role as well. Yannick Ngakoue could as well. He's a guy that obviously wants a long-term deal, but at this point in the game, not sure that he's going to get one. So I think those three players make sense as rotational pass rushers. They could really come in, be veteran presence, and not expect to be playing on first and second down, come in those pass rush situations and just get after the passer, right? But for me, I like those three options, big time. I do. If the Jaguars went out and pursued Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, Yannick Ngakoue, there's a couple other guys that I think could make sense as well, I'd be happy. But I think their best option could actually be a mid-June trade, which you don't really see from the Jaguars. The Minnesota Vikings, they appear to be shopping Danielle Hunter, right? It makes sense from the perspective that they have been sellers this offseason, moving on from guys like Dalvin Cook and Zadarius Smith. Maybe this regime wants to move in a different direction, pivot away from some of the veterans on the roster. Hunter is going into the final year of his contract, so it could be a one-year rental, but that's kind of what the Jaguars need right now. I don't think they're looking to add someone to a big long-term contract right now. I don't think that's what they want. I think it's pretty clear based on the comments of Doug Peterson this offseason and recently during OTAs, they're not really looking to add someone that's going to impact their long-term plan, but they need pass rushers beyond Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. Right now, you'd be picking between K'Lavon Chaisson, Jordan Smith, Deshaun Dixon, and Yasir Abdullah as who would be your third and fourth pass rushers behind those guys. I just don't think that that's the bet you should make. I get that you can like those guys, and it's possible that one of them does step up. There's no question about that. Maybe multiple of those guys step up a little bit and are able to fulfill some roles for you. But in my opinion, betting on all those unproven guys to be a third and fourth pass rusher for you is a little bit risky, quite frankly. Because this is, and we're not talking about a team in the Jaguars that's just trying to make the playoffs. If they're just trying to make the playoffs, they're fine, right? I think they're fine. But if you're trying to get past the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, to make it to that Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl in franchise history, which is what the Jaguars should absolutely be doing in 2023 and beyond, I think you do need more than Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, and what they have behind them, quite frankly. I really do. So any team that trades for Danielle Hunter, they're only going to be on the hook for $5.5 million in 2023. They would only eat $5.5 million. So that's the type of cost from a salary cap standpoint, from a money standpoint, that I think is very palatable for the Jaguars. What would the cost be in terms of trade compensation? That's another question. I'd give up anything on day 3. And really, if I thought I could potentially sign him to a long-term deal, maybe even a third-round pick, the Jaguars have plenty of picks to deal, even with the Calvin Ridley trade factored in. And they've got incoming compensatory picks as well. Jawan Taylor, you could send one of those. You could send another third. I think it would probably be a day 3 pick that could get Danielle Hunter out of Minnesota. And the Vikings, they no longer have leverage, because they look like the sellers. When you have information coming out that teams are calling another team about a specific player, usually it's someone on that side of the deal, either the Viking side or Danielle Hunter's agent leaking that information, right? So I think when you talk about that, the Vikings have certainly lost leverage in the situation. They're the ones, or at least it's them or Danielle Hunter's representation, that's probably trying to get this thing done to get him out of Minnesota. And I love Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. But if you trade for Danielle Hunter, he's immediately your best pass rusher by a fairly wide margin. He did have a neck injury and missed 2020, dealt with some injuries in 2021 as well. But in 2022, back to full health at 28 years old, Hunter was an absolute menace. 76 pressures, 10.5 sacks, 12 quarterback hits, 43 stops, a forced fumble. This guy has 71 sacks in 7 seasons in the NFL. This is absolutely the type of guy you want to bring to your football team. He is a freak athlete, unbelievable speed and get off, great hands. He can bend. He has a ghost move. Win on the outside track. He can win through you. Really impressive overall pass rusher. There's no question about that. And he would be really good for Trayvon and Josh to learn from, quite frankly. They're both really good athletes, but neither of them have the pass rush arsenal that a Danielle Hunter brings to the table. I think just being around this guy, seeing the way he works his hands and works his moves would be really good for both of those guys. And he plays the run to boot, so he's not just a specialist. He could come in and help you no matter what situation you're in for the most part on the defensive side of the ball. The Jaguars, assuming the Vikings are willing to play ball, and it does look like they are at this point, to me, they have an opportunity here to swing for the fences, to put their pass rush over the top, to really compete at the highest level on the defensive side of the ball in 2023, which that should be the goal. Every year from now until the end of Trevor Lawrence's time in Jacksonville, you should be pushing some chips in to make sure that you have an opportunity to win the big game. And for me, it's low risk. It's a low risk move that could help them take the next step. It's the type of swing that I would be all over. Again, anything on day 3, I'd be fine with shipping off for Danielle Hunter. And if you talked to maybe his agent, maybe you could get something done for like a 3-year deal if you feel comfortable doing that. I don't think the Jaguars would want to do that right now. But again, I'd give up even a 3rd-round pick if I could get Hunter locked up for a couple years. But I do honestly believe if he gets traded, it's going to be a day 3 pick. I just don't think the Vikings have leverage. I think that they've played their hand. They've shown their hand a little bit. And if Danielle Hunter moves, it's probably going to be for again, day 3 pick. 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever. Maybe a combination of a couple. They traded Zadarius Smith to the Browns, who is a little bit older, but they traded him for a 4th and a 5th to the Cleveland Browns. So I think that the Jaguars have an opportunity here to add a player that could help put their defensive front over the top. I think it's low risk in both trade compensation and what you actually have to pay the guy. Could be just a 1-year rental. I think that makes sense for the Jaguars where they're at right now. If you went and signed a Justin Houston or a Melvin Ingram or a Unique Ngakoue, all of those guys are going to be 1-year rentals as well, most likely. I know Unique Ngakoue wants a long-term deal, but don't think he's going to get one at this point. So for me, Danielle Hunter is probably a better player at this point in his career than any of those guys. I think he actually has a chance at providing more than just pass rush for you, really improving your defense as a whole. And you talk about getting into these lightning packages on 3rd down, Trayvon Walker and Roy Robertson Harris on the inside, Josh Allen and Danielle Hunter on the outside. That could be a thing of beauty. I really believe it. So I'd be all in on going and pursuing Danielle Hunter. Really appreciate y'all tuning in today. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. You can follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. If you're on your podcast platform of choice, please subscribe and review. And again, you can go check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear like this hat, this shirt. Thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all have a good one.